Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Social Distance Show, or welcome to the Social Distance Show if this is your first time seeing it. We have been doing this show officially for 2 months today. I started it the day the day after everything happened. So kind of Wednesday, March 11th is kind of when everything started falling apart big time, and we started this show the day after, and it was every day for a really long time until it was every day at 7 for a really long time until I got a better gig on Wednesday nights at 7. And then I stopped doing it on that night. And then I decided to cut back and only do it one night because this has become a crazy schedule. And honestly, I didn't think that it would last this long 2 months ago when we started it. Today, I am honored to have I believe, 69th and current Lieutenant Governor of the state of Rhode Island. He's former mayor of Cumberland. And I kind of consider him a friend now, which is very cool. The Lieutenant Governor, Dan McKee. Lieutenant Governor, how are you?
I'm doing great, Ben. Thanks for the invitation to be here tonight with you. And yeah, you are a friend, and we got some mutual friends for sure in the Westerly area.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I was with a friend of mine the other day. I was just picking up some stuff. He's a caterer. He does clam cakes and chowder, and we've had him at our house several times with friends. And now I get him ready to have a whole new event. I think when this all settles, to make sure that you come up to my neck of the woods up in Cumberland.
That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. The so every Wednesday you're doing Ask Dan at 7. And that is sort of a question and answer show. If people have questions, you try to get to it then. But then you also have wonderful guests with small business owners, and you've had some musicians on. And and tomorrow night you actually have some lieutenant governors from around the country. How has that been going for you?
Well, it's been going really good because we've been trying to figure out a way to connect with people because normally we're in all 39 cities and towns on a regular basis doing our work, whether it's with municipal leaders or small businesses, long-term healthcare, our veterans, you name it. We've been out and about, and Westerly's been a great community for us to be in that area, and we've been really welcomed by some of the people that are the mainstays in that community. So yeah, so to be able to communicate like this and on the platform that you introduced me to, Ben, it's been great.
Awesome. Now in addition to that, you have been doing something that we switched to Facebook and YouTube and your Twitter and all of that stuff recently. But these virtual town halls, which were originally small business conference calls, um, those happen every Tuesday and Friday at noon, and that is such a hub for direct information. How did that come to be? How long have you been doing that? And can you talk to people about that for a second?
Yeah, so I mean, just like yourself in terms of starting a show like this to communicate with people right after the state shut down, or the country shut down. I started because we do a lot of things with our small businesses around the state. So I've always made a point, this 39 cities and town theme. Every community is important. Everybody lives in those communities important. Communities that make up those communities are important. So we had been off on a number of 39 tours. Whether if we went to a farm in one community, went to farm in 39. If we went to a used car dealer in one community, went to 39. Manufacturers the same, coffee shops the same. So what I did was we just went into our base of people that we had been recently involved in over the last 5 years and said, would you come on a call? I don't know where it's going to go, but let's see where it goes. And that's where it started, with a handful of people, maybe 30 businesses and other people interested in helping the small businesses. But out of that one, and you've had them as your guest here on that Ask Dan segment, and I'm, really an extraordinary thing happened with three independent business people that don't even know each other, got together and created that website, rismallbusiness.org. And we
Absolutely.
almost 1,300 businesses on there right now, Ben. So that's how it started, is with a small group. We saw the potential. We had we were with the first call. We couldn't mute anybody. All the background noise going. Every time somebody cut on or got off, it was a ding and everything else. By the time we figured it out, we had as many as 450 businesses on that call, working their way through a lot of the procedures on the loans and that type of thing. And then it just made sense as we're getting close to this reopening to start talking about the small businesses, but then start talking to the people who actually support our small businesses. So we've got a broader audience right now.
Absolutely. Um, so in general, I know that you talked about going to all 39 cities and towns in the state. What does what are some of the things that you do as lieutenant governor in general in a non-pandemic time? You've been our lieutenant governor since 2015, I believe. Is that correct?
Born in January 2015. I was a mayor for about 12 years in Cumberland prior to that. Yeah, so I mean, I think it's pretty well spelled out what we do in terms of I chair the Small Business Advocacy Council. That's why we dug into the small business interest. That's one of the reasons why we're doing those calls on Tuesdays and Fridays. I chair the Long-Term Healthcare Council, which deals with a number of the aging, healthy, and communities issues. And so we're doing a call, still doing a conference call strategy on that every week as well. But we would have monthly meetings on that. Really strong. Our office really took a real strong interest in Alzheimer's issues, which is impacting close to 25,000 people in the state of Rhode Island. And when you multiply the families on that, it probably impacts 100,000 people directly, right? So we were able to get a state plan approved, raised outside money and did that. And then we're doing a number of the veterans issues, working with Director Jan. You met him. I had him on as one of our guests. He's a
Yeah,
he's a dynamic guy.
he's awesome.
Yeah, he came on with his red, white, and blue bib, I think it was, like that. But yeah, so we have a staff of 7. We actually have we have interns that work in our office. So people listening, they would like to be interns at some point in time. We'd love to have the young people in. We actually have a person that's approaching 70 that worked as an intern for the last 5 months in our office on a federal program. He got attached to our office so much he's calling in every morning at 9 o'clock on our staff meetings, and he's thoroughly engaged with a cleanup strategy for the state of Rhode Island. So we have a project going that right in Providence, North Providence area, not unlike what Caswell and the Squamish Business Association did with the Warriors there, right? With the what we call them, the trash, not the trash warriors, but they
The
have that
waste
waste
warriors.
warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, fabulous group of kids. So yeah, so we have a small group and we help individuals out all the time, and we're very fortunate to have direct access to all the department heads in the governor's office, so we can call them directly. They respond very quickly, and so we can help a lot of individuals as well.
Um, and yeah, I just want to point out that a lot of people. So there's obviously like I'm during the virtual small business meetings, I'm producing the show, and I'm seeing all of the questions that anybody asks come up
Yeah,
on the side, and then so if somebody doesn't ask your question during that show, by the way, get mad at me, not the people on the show. Um, but but there's obviously a lot of frustration of people that feel like their questions aren't answered in general by the government and by politicians, and that they don't have the and that like things don't get done. And what's been really interesting for me personally is to see how not true that is. And
yeah,
I see, we had assistant director Matt Weldon on the show, and he's on the virtual business meetings every week from the Department of Labor and Training. And there are just as many people that say, Matt called me specifically, and he got my unemployment fixed, and that's happening every day. But I also wanted to talk about the farm stand situation that
yeah,
happened via that same thing, which was a couple weeks ago. The local farm stands were still shut down and they weren't able to open. And they saw that a similar thing was happening in Massachusetts where they were able to, and that was just one conversation and then with you, and then it by the next week when we were doing this, it was completely changed, and they were able to operate. Can you tell me a little bit?
Yeah,
Can you tell us a little bit about
you've
that
met a
story?
couple people on our staff. Cheyenne was on the program Wednesday night. You had Rosa on as well, that is really connected into the Hispanic community. You know, I've always asked her to get my feet on the ground in all the communities, but including that. And so that's helpful, right? Then because it's the fact that you earn your position over time, right? You earn your respect. You know, people don't have to respect you unless you earn it, and so I think that our office has done that. And so the farmers came to me because we had done the farm tour. They know that we had helped them on a couple other things, and they were talking about that. So I think these platforms that you're using here, it does create a public discussion, and it opens up a framework. We were fortunate that one of the WPRO radio hosts with Dan York thought it was a really important issue that he wanted to focus on, and he did. And so as a result, you know, that attention is important to put that spotlight, right? And that gets people to move. And that's what I've been encouraging people is, look, you should be calling our office. You should be calling our elected officials, whether they're reps or senators. We've had 2 weeks in a row now, 2 calls in a row. We've had municipal town council people on, right? They're very important people at this point in time, as they are all the time. But at this point in time, and you should expect an answer. So when you every question that we get on those shows, we have our staff, you know, with Cheyenne and Andrea. You've met Andrea as well, and Rosa and others. They're really chasing that, and we'll have some of the few other of our office on. You met Craig Dwyer as well,
Yep.
president of our council here in Cumberland. So yeah, it's the same. It's the old adage is that you never get anything done all by yourself, and you got to have good people around you. And I'm fortunate to have put some really good people around me to get things done. So don't be bashful out there if you're listening and you live in Rhode Island and you have an issue that, whether it's related to COVID-19 or related to the economy or small business or just a simple issue that you're trying to get connected, our office will try to do that.
Yeah. I think that there's that first of all, everyone in your office that I've met is just absolutely wonderful and hardworking and dedicated to helping the people of Rhode Island. And yeah, every answer that in the comments, I mean, because I can't put every question up, and I can't,
Yep.
stop the flow of conversation about whatever is being said. Um, but Cheyenne will go through with a fine tooth comb in the comments, and she'll answer people's questions, or she'll send them the correct website or the correct email address to direct them to who can answer their questions, which is just wonderful. And and then I got to experience that today, this morning, by accident, with the Musqueam Business
Yep.
Association, because I was hosting their board meeting for them. I wasn't a part of it at all. I just was, doing 15 things at once. But I was on, and then all of a sudden, Caswell said, "Oh, by the way, the lieutenant governor's here today." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then it was the same thing, and you were able to answer questions directly for them. So the access to you and your office and to real answers is so much more. There's so much more availability than I think people realize to get the answers to their questions that they have. Uh, the transparency of you guys being very honest about, hey, this is what we know, this is what we don't know, this is where we're at, is just so refreshing and very very nice. Um, I do have a big question for you, and I forgot what it was at the moment. Um, it wasn't that important. I know that, but my question right now is, what is the thing that you miss? Oh, I know what it was. It's the question that everybody asks every single time we do a show with you. 15 to 100 people put it in the comments. They want to see you at the press conferences. And there's always 50 comments. Lieutenant Governor, when are you going to be at the press conferences with Governor Raimondo? Uh, would you like to would you like to answer that?
Well, yeah, and I think that it's time to, I didn't want to dwell on that during the time when we were in just the health crisis, but now we're into reopening, and as you mentioned, we've been working diligently on the small business issue. So the real answer to that is that I haven't been invited, and it's the governor's decision. But the more complicated answer is that in Rhode Island, lieutenant governor runs their own campaign. They're an independent office. The governor runs their own campaign. They're an independent office, and they don't campaign together and they don't manage together. So what I'm advocating, and I started to do it tonight on another venue with Dan York. I'm advocating. Look, we need to visit this because there are states. That's what I think people see. If they're from Massachusetts, so they see Governor, in Massachusetts, and the Lieutenant Governor in Massachusetts, they are really working together right now. And in other states, because I chaired the National Lieutenant Governors Association, a few years ago. That's why we're going to have a couple of lieutenant governors on our Ask Dan tomorrow from Michigan and Delaware. Um, it's important, really, I think, for Rhode Island to change its constitution and have a governor and a lieutenant governor run together. If you ever saw the reason why, I think you're seeing it now. I don't take it personal because of the separation of the office, but the people have a right to know, and they're asking the question. So this is the time to start answering it in a way that is not meant to be critical, but it's meant to be honest, like you said. A lieutenant governor and a governor that run separate. They could come from separate parties. They could be aligned differently politically, even if they're the same party. They may have a different idea of what needs to be done. When you have a governor and a lieutenant governor run together as a team, it's just like the president and the vice president, right? And that would strengthen the state considerably, I believe, because then I would be functioning as a part of the executive staff of the governor's office. And when I'm speaking here, I'm speaking for the lieutenant governor and about the state. But if I was a running mate with a governor right now, I would be here and speaking on behalf of the governor's office, which I think is a big difference. So
Yeah.
that's the reason why I haven't been invited, and yet we continue to do the work, and we do it in a way that is meant to be very positive, because I think that's what Rhode Islanders need right now. Is they need a very positive type message, and that's why I'm selling the idea of doing some really big things, thinking big on behalf of what the state's doing in the local communities.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that explanation. That was well said, and I don't think that it was critical at all, except for of the rule and the way that we do it. So I think that that makes a lot of sense, and thank you very much for being so open about that. Um, Now I'd like to get into, not that this is a fun question, but what is something that you would be doing in your personal life had it not been for this pandemic? What's something that that you would have really enjoyed to have been doing the last month or so?
Yeah, so I think we certainly would have celebrated Mother's Day differently. My mom is 90 to be 92 next month. She lives with Susan and I, and we had a kind of an extended type of a celebration, but I think we would have been doing that a little different. Clearly, our family days of Easter and that type of thing, we would have a large group together that we normally get together. So that's something that we all miss, right? Families. And then on a real personal note, I do enjoy basketball. I coached a lot of basketball with kids. That's one of the reasons that I really have taken on education in a way that most politicians won't, and then really push back against the status quo, because I coached a very diverse group of kids. You'll see tomorrow night on the second half of the show, we're going to have three black leaders, leaders and community leaders on our show, and they're going to be talking about the impact of the virus on their community. Well, I'm very well plugged in through my coaching, and so I like the basketball. So I'd be watching the NBA playoffs right now. I think I would have enjoyed the NCAA tournament. Matt and I, my son Matt and I, we do a pilgrimage to New York City every year since he was in the sixth grade to go see the Big East tournament. So yeah, there's many things that we like socially, family wise, and also what be different about. And my wife Susan was telling me the other day. She says, one thing she doesn't miss that much is that normally every day or every night, especially on the weekends, I said, we got to go this place. And then I could get out of there. So we got to go to another place and we got to go to another place. So, we got the energy to do it. But we missed that interaction face to face on it too. So I think it's a combination of your professional life, your personal life, in terms of the activities I like. I do sneak in, a few holes every week, a few, maybe 5, 6 holes on the golf course that I'm a member of. Normally, I'd be trying to get a full round in, but now it's like 1 hour at a time on the work. So I'm looking forward to things that we normally do. Kaz is saying that I had to miss the Spring Fest this year too, which was down there, but I did participate though, Kaz, with Ben in terms of like being a
Yeah,
host for the event.
exactly. Yeah, you hosted the online music festival,
Yes, but
which was
those are
wonderful.
things, Ben. Right? Those are the things that I think that we're looking to get back to a normal stage in terms of school and the activity. I'm very concerned about our education right now. We're going to bring that. That's going to be a subject that we're going to talk about very shortly on the Wednesday Ask Dan, because that education thing, we were so far beyond the 8 ball in many ways on the education, and we're only drifting further behind. So I wouldn't be over relying just on the virtual learning right now. We need to step it up in other ways, and I've got ideas to how to do that. So I did it as a mayor of Cumberland. So hopefully we're going to be able to implement some mayor or municipal type education offices that every community could have. You're going to need to fill in the gap here, and that's one way you can do it at very low cost.
That's really interesting. And I would love to. I'm sure that we'll talk more about that on Ask Dan tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And So what is the first thing that you're looking forward to doing once everything goes back to the biggest sense of normalcy that we could, the closest to normal that we could go back to? What are you really looking forward to?
Well, I think that it's uh, you know getting back to the state house and doing the work that our office is doing. I enjoy that. I'm privileged to be able to be elected twice statewide and have had the support to do that. So that's my primary responsibility in my public life. And we're going to be we're still doing all the things that we're trying to get done anyways with even the Lieutenant Governor's Entrepreneur Challenge that you highlighted that on the Ask Dan. So professionally, that's what I want to make sure that I get another 2.5 years in office as Lieutenant Governor, and I want to make sure that we spend every day making sure that we're doing the best things for the people who live in our state. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but Caswell knows that we have these sand hourglasses in our office. We have it divided on 2 hallways with the 7 people who are working, but I have these hourglasses in, and every time you go by and it's empty, I tell people turn it over again, because now we have limited amount of time to do the work we want to do. So I have these hourglasses in my office. People turn it over. Initially, they weren't. They thought they were laughing at me, but they're getting it now that we have a limited amount of time when you're elected. So I think on the professional side, that's the thing. I can't wait to go out and play around the golf, quite frankly, with my friends that I've known, and my son Matt, and others. I think that that's something that people have an idea how they would spend their resting time. I enjoy going out with my friends and play a little golf, and then just kind of sit on the deck and watch the golfers come in and enjoy that. And then with the family, I think I described that before too. I can't get, we're going to have an impromptu graduation caravan for my niece who graduated from the University of Maryland this year. And our family probably would have traveled, a lot of our family would have traveled down there to see my niece graduate. So I think getting back to that family setting, I think everybody's waiting for that in a way that they might even appreciate it more than they did before. And
I think so too. Yeah, I think that gratitude and appreciation for the little things is going to be the best thing that comes out of all of this. Is that everybody had to stop and take stock a little bit about the things that were really important. Um, the hourglass thing is so cool. I love that so much. That's so
yeah,
awesome. Did was that something that you came up with yourself, or is that
no,
like
that was
an
really
homage to something?
I came up with myself. I was talking. Well, actually, the idea prompted on a little reading I was doing. It wasn't exactly the same application, but they were saying that you can be a lot more efficient in your work if you had an hourglass in front of you and you really focused on that 1 hour, and when that was done, you kind of move on and relax a little bit. But that keeps you focused. But I thought it was so important because I'll tell you one of the reasons why I've been. So I was a mayor for 4 years in business. Been the president of our Boys and Girls Club. Helped start in the endowment fund. Very involved in our community of Cumberland. Really anchored in Cumberland. And I lost an election after 2 terms. And I said, well, gee, I did a real good job. But the fact of the matter is, I really didn't campaign as hard as I needed to. But that was a real wake-up call for everybody and anyone that's listening, is that when you have an opportunity that you really want to embrace, you really need to value the time. So I wanted to make sure that our staff understood that, the people working with me. And if you talk to anybody and ask them about the hourglass, you talk to Andrea, talk to anybody about the hourglass, they'll get a little chuckle out of it. But the one thing is that they are flipping it over. And the only thing I haven't put on there is we do have an expiration date. I think it's like January 5th, 2023 or something like that. And that's coming up pretty quick.
That's so cool. I love that story, and I'm definitely going to mention the hourglass to them now.
Yeah.
Uh, so, all right. Well, that's been a half hour. I just want to thank you so much. This was not a planned thing. I I was really busy this week and completely forgot to book myself a guest. And I reached out to you last minute, and you said yes. And you're so gracious to do that and to take this half hour to talk and laugh and have fun with us. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks for the invitation, Ben, and I really do appreciate yourself and Caswell and the Westerly community, the Musqueamick Business Association, and everybody that's around there. I mean, that's one of the things you're waiting to. So tunes on the dunes, get back to that, right? Get back to some of the Springfest and the other activities that happen in Westerly, and that meeting this morning, Ben, that we had. I've already taken 3 of the ideas and I've started to publicly talk about them. And so that's why it's good to be talking. Happy to be here. And thanks so much for the invitation.
Thank you. Have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow.
You got it. Okay.
Bye.
Now.
Um, he's awesome. He is a fantastic human being. Um, and and that was, I mean, that was really cool of him. I didn't have a guest at like 6 o'clock, a little bit before 6, and Caswell was like, send a message to Lieutenant Dan, and I was like, no, that's crazy, and he was like, do it. He likes you. He'll do it. If he's free. So I did, and he was very nice to give me a half hour of his time. Um, and I just want to say that really, the head of the DLT, one of the heads of the DLT, and one of the heads of the SBA for Rhode Island are answering your questions along with Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee every Tuesday and Friday, and there are local business owners and panels, and the Gift It Forward panel. Um, that committee of people who run the rismallbusiness.org are just a fantastic group of people, and everybody is. And I think the one of the things, if you're watching this from Westerly, and you're so Lieutenant Governor Damaki is a Democrat, and Caswell is a very staunch Republican who adores this man, and I think that just goes to show you that local politics and getting things done for communities is really has nothing to do with party lines, and the amount of actual real world implications of the things that he is doing and the leadership that he's showing with the small business community and getting results and answering questions and admitting when he doesn't know the answer to the question and then going to find it is really wonderful. So I highly encourage you to check out Ask Dan every Wednesday and the virtual town hall meetings every Tuesday and Friday at noon. Put your question in the comments, and I will do my best to have whoever needs to answer it for you. And if I can't, Cheyenne from the Lieutenant Governor's office will follow up. So thank you guys very much. Have a good night. We'll see you soon.